Hello, hello. Sorry for the delay. I'm not really sure anybody will join this chat, but I thought I would jump in and talk about this T-share rate change that occurred yesterday. So let's go take a look. So we have a new T-share rate chart, and this is printed up right after UTC, midnight UTC yesterday. Now, for some of you who may not be aware, um, we had a change take place yesterday. Wasn't that big, about 580 or so hex. I say not that big because it's a couple percent change. And that was not a surprise. We knew it was coming because we're able to calculate these into the future and see what they might be. And so I was kind of expecting that. But when that change occurred, not only did it increase the share rate for everyone staking after that, but it also changed what the shape of the future share rates might be. And I talk about this from time to time, and I think people get it, but I think it's a little bit different to see it on screen. So we're going to go take a look at what the change was and what it was, what this looked like before the change. And so let me switch over to that screen real quick. All right, so if we take a look at this particular document, of course, now I'm talking to you guys and clicking buttons, so it kind of messes it all up. So if we go take a look at okay, let's see, make sure this is showing on the screen, and it is. Okay. So if we take a look at this document, you can see the old curve looked very, very angular, right? So we came up to the day of the change, which would have been right over here, and we had a very flat curve. We call it a curve, but very flat lines, and you can see the difference between the higher share rate being estimated that's being calculated, and then a lower one that does not include addresses that might be OA addresses. So these are stakes that will increase the rate because they were made quite a while ago. They picked up some good yield, and because of the way the calculation works, it will turn around and the contract will turn around and do the calculation to ratchet up the T-share rate. But as soon as that occurred, this is what the new chart looked like. And please, what I'd like to bring to notice here is, or get you to notice, is just how many little different changes there are now. Not only did our quantities change of hex, because now the cost is going to go up a little bit more, but yesterday, which was the 16th, we also had a number of stakes come in after the share rate change. And because those stakes came in after the share rate change, the new share rate applies. And because the new share rate applies, it changes what will happen in the near future. So now you see, instead of it being very, very flat, we'll get them both on the screen at the same time. Instead of it being very, very flat, we have a number of changes that now angle all the way up to the next plateau. And that kind of represents the fact that there's, on a given day, there might be 500 or 600 stakes made, and maybe 70, 80% of them are short stakes. And when I say short stakes, I mean defined as, 45 days or less, because people are continually making these stakes. And so now what's happened is it changes how we're going to see share rate increases. I didn't do the calculation, but I bet that it probably mimics this rate of increase. Probably mimics something around 6 to 12 hex a day of an increase. Let's go back over to this chart, and again, one more time, we'll look at it and see, look at the difference in how it's angled. And after a certain period of time out into the future, and this is only through the end of the year, it goes flat again. And that's because we don't yet have stakes that can make higher share rates that are supposed to end in this time frame. And that can change every day. People do more stakes, so that can change. Well, let's switch up. Back over to our Power BI. All right, so now we're back on the Power BI screen. And you can see this again without the highlighting, but now I'll have the interaction on the screen. And I've just set the dates from October 1st to the 31st of December just to go check and see what this is going to look like. And you can see we're sitting right over here at 24,902. And I don't expect to see a change for two or 3 days. So probably on the 21st, we'll see an increase because whoever made the stake that now represents whatever the new increase will be, probably, well, not probably, they made it yesterday because it's the only day that we can really include. So they made it yesterday, and it's going to be like a 4-day stake. That stake will come out and it'll increase the rate by, it looks like, about 20. Okay, and it's just from that little stake, and it doesn't even have to be a big stake necessarily, but that little stake. And so that's what will happen then. And then you see some other additional steps begin to come up a little bit later along the line here, as each one of these longer stakes go out and start to increase it. So kind of a way to visualize, what we keep talking about. A lot of people have the misconception that only really big stakes or stakes that are stakes that are really long change the share rate, but the share rate doesn't care, right? The calculation doesn't care. What it'll do is just go up and follow the plan, right? So it just does what it does. Every stake gets ended, every stake gets the calculation, and then if the calculation increases, it resets the value. So I hope that helps you visualize what I've meant when I've said that after a big change takes place, it fills in and this becomes kind of an upward curve. Now, the reason the purple line at this point has not changed, which is the calculated share rate with OA, is because there is no other stakes being made that will exceed the amounts that those stakes will reset it to. So there's a possibly related OA stake that's supposed to end on the 22nd, which means on the 23rd it would actually be transacted. And if that actually happened, it would go to 25,177. That would be the new share rate. Don't know if the OA will do that or not. If the OA does do that, then it will go up a few hundred, and then it's likely that they would also, well, there'd be more of a chance that the OA would also end a few more of these stakes. There's a series of them that are taking place in November, right around Thanksgiving. And if that was to happen, the share rate will clearly get close to 26,000. Go up to 2570, 78. Or 25,778, and then it would, once all the short stickers catch up again, it'll go on an incline to the end of the year. Actually, if that was to happen, we might see something really close to just being dead on 26,000. So that might happen. So what's the short-term outlook for T-shares? I think at this time, other than this OA change, I think we've got clear sailing where we're going to just see more routine increases of share rate, something on the order of 200 or 300 a month going into February. I think that would be about the correct time frame. And if the OA does end, that'll be elevated by a good, good 400 or 500. So let's extend our time frame. I'm going to go to the calendar widget here and go out to end of March. Let's take a look at that. So I've changed it. I changed the time frame so that we go out to the end of March. And now you can see that the chart shape has changed yet again. We were looking at right up to this point on the previous date time frame, but you can see that we don't have a whole lot in the way of new stakes. Oh, of course, we're not going to see them yet. We're not going to see any new changes up here yet. But we see kind of a jagged increase here on the without OA. And then we finally get to a point where the two lines converge again, and that's right around the 15th of February. So apparently Valentine's Day is a big day, and then after that we will see another big increase, probably. I have to go look at that. It's not an OA related stake because otherwise these two lines would be separated. But clearly it could go up another 700 on that day. Until then, the slope will stay fairly even. So let me go back and see if I can explain this again to everyone. So that purple line is the calculation including all stakes. And so that is what I would expect the increases to be if the stakes that would make those increases actually ended, right? That's what I would expect. And then just like this time, as soon as one of them is ended, then you would see all the little stakes climb in on top of it and fill it in, right? So it won't be quite as stark. The lower line, or the no OA line, is excluding the OA related stakes, and so that's why there's a separation between the two. Now, it's very possible the OA won't end. I think it would probably be good for the system if the OA did end, but since I don't know who the OA is and can't control that, don't know what will happen. And we haven't seen the OA actually end any stakes since Big Payday, really. I mean, there's one maybe that was ended after it was good accounted. So that being the case, you know, you see the separation of the two lines, but then they come back together because what's happened is always a staker like any other staker. And so what that means is that someone else, other than the OA related addresses, staked at some time in the past, and their stake is the one that's actually going to drive the number up to 26,414. And we could actually go to the staking panels and try to figure that out if we wanted to, and go look and see which stake has done that. Well, in any case, this has been my attempt to try to explain what's been going on and how these numbers are changing. The way I have it on the screen here, it looks like we're increasing rapidly, but other than these big steps that we keep highlighting, I think you're going to see a pretty normal kind of an increase of that 6 to 12 per day, that kind of an average. I think it's going up over time, you know, per what we've seen with the Hopper multiple. And a little bit longer time frame, if we go out to 2024, you can see we have a number of steps coming up. We've got this February step. We have another little step in March. Another little one in April, kind of routine from April till July. And then a nice little increase in August. Again, maybe 1% type increases with these types. But then the one to really look for again will be this one here. And this is November of 23. And guess whose stakes those belong to, this whole line. It looks very similar, you know, different time frame, but today. So these are OA related stakes again that may be coming due at that time. And that actually looks like a pretty big increase, right? We go from somewhere around 30,300 all the way up to 31,800. So 30,000, yeah, so about 1,500 hex in 1 day, 2 days. Pretty big increase. So yeah, I think we're on target, you know, to kind of close out 2023. That's a ways off, and there's a lot that's can happen between now and then. We're probably right to the end of the year. We're probably on target to get up to 31,000, 32,000. By that time, if we end this year at 26,000, that'll be a 6,000 increase over that time frame. So that's a pretty decent increase. All right, let's go to the navigation panel. I didn't get a chance to show people this before, and I guess I'm not going to get a chance to show it again. Let me see if I can do a quick refresh on the screen to see. There we go. So once in a while, these menu items drop out, and I can't get to them. I don't know what's going on, so I had to refresh the screen. I was updating before this video, so maybe that's what it is. I have advanced analytics selected. I'm going to click go. And you'll notice there's something called share rate model here. Probably didn't do a great job trying to explain all these different things. But now this gives you some real deep dive information into what's happening with share rates. So as we were looking a few moments ago, I actually took that chart and grabbed the figures off of that, and we keep this updated. And you can see here that if we get all the changes and nothing else happens towards the end of the year, we would be expecting another 3.5% increase in share rate from today. And then end of 23, we expect it to be about a 28% increase. Now that's subject to change. There could be some huge swings in payouts, either up or down, and if that was to occur, then these numbers they'll change dynamically anyways. But it kind of gives you an idea where things might head. So you can look at by year what we think the increases will be, and yeah, going out to Cuatro Cinco-ish time frame, I think we might see 4x the price in shares by then, which kind of gets you to those 100,000 numbers. But again, when we look at those very long numbers, you can't really depend on them. I would look at these as more like bases, like it's probable will be at least to these kinds of levels. Probable that will be at these levels. It more likely will be higher and be closer to Hopper's multiple. You also can look at the share rate by month, and it's broken down here to kind of show again what the increases might be. And when you see the percentages the same month over month, those represent those flat spots on the chart. Until we get stakes that'll actually end at those time frames, you won't see those. And then you won't see those change, right? Because if the system, since share rate only goes up, if I don't have a stake yet for January, that'll increase it over the highest from December or the highest from November. And this does include OA at the moment. Then you would expect that it's going to stay flat. And if it stays flat, it's going to be the same percentage increase from today. And that's what that means. Now, what we can do is we can go up and I'll do this in a moment, but we can go up here and select OA related yes or no, and they'll change these numbers. And this goes out for the next year because I think that's probably the most accurate. And then I do have the dailies listed up here as well. I think it goes out about 60 days right now. So you can see what the share rate is today, and you can see this representation of the flat spot on stakes until the 20th, where I expect to see someone end one of their short stakes and see an increase. And then the day after it's smaller. Why is that? On the dailies, I chose just to put, I chose not to smooth the line on the dailies so we could see more alternatives. Remember, there's 500 stakes ending that day, as an estimate. All 500 of them have new share rates. So I just chose the highest one for that day to come out. So the share rate will not go down. And I probably should try to highlight that a little bit differently, but it will stay at the 920, but it shows you there's not another one on the next day that'll change it. But then you have the OA stake on the 22nd. So I was thinking about trying to break these out into a list of days and only show the ones that matter to people, and so maybe we'll get to that. By perusing this, you can kind of see where the share rates go, and then the higher they go, the more different the color will be. These are those November stakes I mentioned. It kind of gives you an idea of how to look at that data. Now let's go. We're going to say OA related no. We'll click on that, and what you're going to see here is what the share rates might look like, and the change, in particular, it shows up best on the monthly. What the change will be if the OA doesn't end. If the OA doesn't end, we're still going to get up to that 25,777, but it's going to be through a different method. It's going to be done through people, the non-OA stakers staking, and that increase. I think that is a pretty good bet that we'll still get close. But if the OA ends, their stakes, I would guess we're going to see much closer to 26,000. All right, so that's this information. You can also come here to the middle. For ease, just to show people what kind of information comes out with these share rate changes. Here is the latest share rate change. The last time this was updated, and it was that big stake we were watching for the 213 million, and it comes out, and you can actually see that. We have another table. We can actually go look at a whole bunch of them at one time, and I'll do that next. But you can look at all the different changes that have taken place over time. And then if you really want to get into it, you can come down here and read about the T-share rate changes and how that's calculated for each of those contracts. All right, so let's go back to the analytics page. All right, and there's a page here called share rate changes, and it's just what I said it was. So when you come in here, you can look and see all the actual transactions that really did change the share rate. Okay, and this goes back. I don't think I put a filter on it, so let me go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, so it looks like the 22nd went the long way around to, excuse me, 22nd, the 2022. I went the long way around to give that. You could have just clicked here, and I said show the top 150 by earliest date. So it gives me the last 150 changes. That's what we're seeing here. So take a look at this, and you'll see yesterday that big change wasn't the only change that took place. You know, we have other changes that take place as well. You know, when by the time we go look at it, it's hard to know if multiples have taken place unless you're watching it every minute. But there was actually a change that took place before the first one or before the second one that brought it up to the 24,902, and that was for 35. And notice that was a short stake. It was a 34-day stake. Now, why is that important? Well, if you guys remember, 34 days ago was a little bit after the 912 increase of 700. So somebody came in, they staked relatively short, 34 days. They pushed up the rate before the big one. And so this is one of the ways you can sort of game the system a little bit. Maybe not for benefit, but for well, I guess it is for benefit, but I mean, not in a negative way, but in a way to ratchet up the T-share rate. Those short stakes ratchet up the T-share rate quite a bit. And you can see that here in the days that are listed. Look at all the different short days that are here. Yes, some of these are really big numbers, but some are little numbers, like 75,000. I mean, 75,000 is a lot of hex, but it's not a lot of hex in what we're doing. 31,000. So it really has to do with the timing of when you get your stake in, as to what makes a change. Even this little 100 stake may have actually made a change like this right here, and you can go view that on the blockchain. The links are here to Etherscan, and you can go look at what those look like. So then let's look at the changes for a particular day. We're looking right here at the 15th, for instance. Notice there's not one a day. All right, this is what, 8 in one day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in one day. So when people tell you to go ahead and stake as early as possible, because you'll be in the best situation if you stake early, they really mean that, because you can front run these changes. And so if you know changes are coming, you can get in before the change and get a slightly better rate than getting in after. Now, what does it mean materially to you? Maybe not a lot, but just be aware that the share rates can change 5, 6, 7 times a day. And if you do your transactions later, you're stuck with whatever the highest one is, or it could change not at all. Some days there's no changes. It looks like going back here, we've got changes every day in recent history, but well, look at that. On the 28th, no change, right? So 28th of September, no change. I bet you if we went to HEX Daily Stats, we'd see the same thing. Okay. So how do we use all this information? I kind of hinted at that before and covered on some other videos. You can use this information in your staking, right? So you can attempt to pick better days to start your stakes, better days to end the stakes, but none of that supersedes the fact that the best time to have gotten in is at a lower share rate. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's it for this video. Take a quick look at chat here in a second, see if we actually had anybody join us. I think I was the only one watching, so it might just be me. There might be some other folks. And let's go over the chart, see if there's anything else we might want to see in here. Oh, you know, I haven't really covered these, so maybe I should do that. Let's hit daily payouts for TShirt. If you're really curious about this, you want to see what the payouts have been historically. This chart is a little hard to read because it's overlaid, but you can see what the averages have been. And for the purposes of forecasting, I'm using the 180-day at the moment because it's pretty smooth. But you know, you have these big changes that take place, and it pumps up the 7 days, the 30 days, that type of stuff in terms of payouts when big payouts happen, not the share rates. And you can also see the Hopper multiple estimate as well as actual. And we know that this isn't going to be correct exactly, right? But we do think that the slope of the payouts will mimic something like this slope that we can see on the screen here once I expand it out. So going all the way out to 2030, we might be seeing payouts of somewhere between 15 and 16. And there are some estimates that go even higher per T-share. Now, again, as you could see with the T-share rate, how it changed because of staking behaviors, this payout's going to change too. And it will look different on the different chains. So once we get to Pulse Chain, the payout will probably be different, you know, as far as how that looks. And that's going to be because we're going to have different amounts of stakers and excuse me, different amounts of emergency end stakes and all sorts of stuff happening. So you can come here and kind of get an idea for this, what these numbers are and what they might look like. And what those increases might be. And then going out to 24, we're looking at something like 7.8 by January 24, so a little bit over a year from now. If we go back to charts again, you can also go to the cost of T-shares. I found this to be pretty interesting. I don't know what to do with this yet, except it gives me confidence in what I'm seeing in the other charts. So the top one is looking at all open stakes by start date. Very important, that's by start date. So these are all open stakes by start date. And so way back here, when somebody got their stakes and they're still open in our system, it kind of gives us the average that they paid for a T-share, right? And depending on depending on what's happening with stakers, you can see that on average people are paying 17,000 right now per T-shirt in terms of HEX. And when it goes way down, what that means is we've got an inordinate amount of well, not annual ordinary amount, but a lot of long stakers, right, on those days. And that's a pretty decent measure of that. So clearly you have that happening. Now the second chart here is all open stakes by expected end date, by end date. So what did people pay for their stakes for the stakes that are ending in these time periods? And what you begin to see is, you see very clearly we've got some short stakers going on here, right? I mean, it's very difficult to have paid on average 16,000 if you weren't really short, right? Because look up here, I mean, if these were long stakes, they're not going to be 16,000. We didn't get to an average of 16,000 until recently, right? And so that means that you've got a lot of that going on. You got a lot of that going on. And so then you can also look and see. Now this is helpful in trying to interpret, you know, what on those days, what those stakers might do, because their share rates that they paid were so low, and now they have to pay so much more. They have to pay so much more. That's another great chart. And then one last thing here, X staking data. For anybody who noticed that there was an error yesterday that I had to get cleared up, I was having trouble showing Quattro Cinco stakes. But I did correct it. And you'll also notice that once you've logged in here and you've loaded these load pretty fast, because it uses cache to to get the data. So let's look at the 16th. So I slid this all the way over. So we had quite a few stakes yesterday. 464 started yesterday. And then if we look at the number of days, flop that around, you can see quite a few, maybe 60, 70 Quattro Cincos. Thinking about putting together some sort of a distribution, kind of a chart or table to kind of show what the distribution is daily. There's no doubt that quite a few of these Quattro Cincos are HSI stakes of Hadron through the Hadron protocol. And there is at least one group of people that believe that encapsulating at Quattro Cinco gives you more flexibility and you'll get many, many, many more shares. And so that's one of the reasons. That's one of the ways that some people are kind of working with the system. Another interesting thing I always get a kick out is look at the amount of HEX staked. So we did have 100 million staked yesterday, again for 34 days. You know, maybe that's the one, or one of the ones that we were looking at or address similar. And then I always get a kick out of this, like this 69 staked, these little small stakes that are coming out, and some of them for very short periods of time. There are a number of contracts that are out there that people utilize for different things. So it's been suggested a couple times these might be some of the older contracts that are some gameplay type contracts, that type of stuff. But they are nonsensical, right? It doesn't make sense to be paying the gas. So it's kind of hard to imagine why these are being done this way, or maybe they're in error, that type of thing. Definitely some favorite numbers out there. 1,000, that's another big one. And you can see some different amounts being staked. Well, anyways, I think you get it. I think you get it. All right, let me go check that chat. Let's see where we're at. such a noob with doing this on YouTube. All right, I got no viewers. Got some people came in and viewed maybe. Just looking at the chats. Actually, oh, Chris J. Hex. I see somebody, man. I see somebody out here watching. I guess you get the award, man. You get the prize. I haven't. My first viewer on a live stream. So there you go. And you're very welcome on the information. It's definitely this geeky stuff that I like to do. Like there are at least three types of people for most things, right? You break them down into three groups. There's some people going to look at this video, they're going to turn it off, right? They're not interested, right? And you got some people that be kind of tolerate. Yeah, okay, I do it. And then you got the other third. They're like, man, I'm into this, man. Give me more. Give me more. Um, so I try to aim to please to get as much information out as possible. Uh, so that's what we'll do. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for anybody who comes and watches this later. It'll be up on the site, on the YouTube channel. I've also added more of the other channels and streams here, and we'll try to do more. I'll try to do more deep dives as I get into it. The only we there is me and my dog, Duke. And Duke's here with me, so maybe I'll get him on screen. I don't think he can use the mouse though. So, all right, and with that, I'm out.